Hi, I'm Kent.
And I'm Anna.
We're married, we make movies, and we believe that anyone in any circumstance can make a feature film.
Welcome to the Feature Filmmaker Podcast. If you want a career making movies, you're in the right place.
Hit subscribe to never miss an episode.
Let's jump right in. Hi, and welcome to the 100th episode of Film and Family.
If I were King Friday from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I would call for a fanfare.
We decided for our 100th podcast to share a recording from one of the Q&As on our film, The Loved and Lost.
The festival Q&A after the showing of the film.
We did a few of these at different festivals. This one was at St. Louis International Film Festival. Kent was not with me. He was home with the kids for that one, but
it was a delight for me to listen to it after the fact. And she did such a great job. I'm glad I wasn't there to blow it.
And I did record it because he wasn't there. So we have it available to share. The audio's not great, so apologize in advance for that. It might be a little hard to hear, but I'm really grateful that we have it to share, and grateful to St. Louis for hosting us.
Yeah, St. Louis, another big shout out. St. Louis International Film Festival. If you have a film, short film, or whatever that you want to submit, they were a really accommodating festival, really, really kind to their filmmakers, and we just super appreciate the chance to show the film in St. Louis, Missouri, which was really cool. Yeah,
it's a really great experience. They even provided hotels for everyone. I think even people who submitted short films, which is pretty outstanding.
And if we're incorrect about that, then we apologize for anyone whose hopes got up, but we're pretty sure that's the case.
Pretty sure. A few announcements just before we share that. We recently signed a distribution deal with BMG Global, and that is for the film that we're talking about in this Q&A, The Loved and Lost. So the film will release in a few more months. More details on that to come. So stay subscribed if you want to hear about it when it does come out.
Yeah, and watch it. And and so enjoy listening to the incredibly comparable, intelligent, and lovely Anna Thalman answer questions about this movie that we made over the last many years.
Everybody here is okay if we're kind of talking like this? Everybody good? Okay, great. So, first of all, incredible movie. I mean, that's very powerful.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of thoughts kind of going through my head. Sorry, sorry.
If you guys want, you can probably come down a little bit closer.
People are welcome to come down.
We could go in the middle. Would that be better?
There you go.
Hello.
But I guess, first off, can you give us a little bit of history? I mean, seeing it looks like your children were the stars in there. I was going to say, seeing their names up there. Can you give us a little bit of history about how this kind of story came about and, how you decided to, put this up on screen?
Sure. Yeah. So we originally worked on a different film in pre-production, and we were pitching it and trying to get financing for it. And it was probably just too big of a step for our first feature film. I was a first-time director. We couldn't kind of get that one off the ground. And so we said, you know what, let's just throw together a super fast, cheap, no budget film just to do it, just to learn and use all our resources. So we live in Peachtree City. We just bought a house that was breaking down, and we had these kids, and we said, let's just put it all together and make a story. So my husband actually pitched a few ideas that he wrote down, and this was one of them. We picked our favorite one, and we very quickly pre-produced it and made it, and it was kind of a whirlwind, but I think it kind of came together. It kind of came together. But yeah, I guess it's a tricky one to put in any specific genre or to classify, but I think to me this is a coming of age for young parents, kind of all together figuring out how to grow into taking care of children, and at the end of the day realizing that if they're together, if we have each other, we have enough, and that's kind of all that really matters, and there will be a way.
Sure.
So yeah, that's where it came from.
For being, from what it sounds like, the way you kind of described it being so quickly put together, I mean, when I was watching it, it seems like it was very tactile. everything within the world it seemed like you had been working on it for forever. I mean, the way that you had the shots put together of him working in the wood shop or the kids, in the woods. I mean, it seemed like a world that you had really built, within, whether it was in the writing or in the direction. I mean, there was a lot to look at there. Can you touch on the themes a little bit, or kind of like the motifs that were within it? I mean, water was everywhere. There was obviously the train tracks. There was, a lot of color. The color palette was incredible. Greens, reds, yellows everywhere. I mean, can you touch on how you kind of used that to tell the story a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for noticing that. I think that sound actually is one of the things that I cared a lot about as a mom. I feel like for me personally, I get overwhelmed with all the noise and chaos of it. And so something we worked on was just creating this constant noise, this constant chaos. And then when she has the nightmare at the beginning of the film, it's quiet for the first time, but it's the silence of like losing a child and not hearing them cry out. And that was actually kind of torturous. And so I wanted to play with that idea of like, yes, it feels hard sometimes when you're in the moment and everything's loud and crazy, but then, if you didn't have that, it would be worse. And for me, this is I don't know, there's layers to this film. I think that I'm a spiritual person. For me, this is a spiritual film. It's kind of about, depending on how you see the world, for me, it's our journey on earth, that we lived with heavenly parents. We came to earth and we're away from them on our own. And we kind of have to go on this journey where we're lost for a little while. And there's sort of a baptism, and the red blanket is kind of like the Christ, blood of Christ, his grace. And then this kind of lifting up in the airplane is getting that higher view, that glimpse sometimes of where we are and how it fits into the whole plan. And then being able to eventually come back to home. So it's kind of got some spiritual undertones that I don't know if anyone ever picks up on, but for me, that's some of the meaning behind it. Sure. Yeah.
Could see that with the water for sure.
Yeah.
Initially it feels like the sense of drowning, which obviously is represented in the nightmare, but then you do see a little bit more of kind of the
also
rebirth,
the literal drowning in the
my heart dropped obviously as soon as the boat scene came up. But sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. Sorry, please.
I want to tell you, I've been coming to this festival for about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And I always like the indie films because they seem to be always on a budget, but they're some of the best. And even if they're a little bit raw, this wasn't raw. This was raw in a different way.
Raw, yeah.
This was profound beyond description. And I think it was one of the best films I've ever seen in the 20 years. Everything combined. And I have memory of a lot of films that I've seen. And there have been years I've seen 25 films.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, that is, keep doing it.
Thank you so much. That's quite a compliment.
Your husband was a photographer too?
Yes, he shot it.
So you wrote it together. He was a photographer. So it's a whole family.
We're a film family. Yeah.
I'm going to second that what Joan said, but I wanted to ask you about your kids, because how hard was it to direct, like Marshall yelling Claire? When it's not, his sister's not named Claire, right?
Yeah.
So how hard was it to kind of, because your son was amazing, and I can't imagine how was it to direct him, to work with two other not strangers, but
they were essentially
people that supposed to be mom and dad. I mean, you're right behind dad is behind the camera and you're around, and they have to not look at.
No, I love that. That's a great question. We kind of had to take somewhat of a documentary approach with the kids. The scenes with the kids we counted on our actors to say, this is the direction that it's written, kind of guide it this way, but you're going to have to roll with whatever they're doing. And I didn't want the kids to have to memorize and say lines because I didn't think it'd be very believable. So we tried to treat it like a game where we said, okay, right now we're playing the game. And in the game, this is your mommy, this is your daddy, your sister's name is Claire, and you have to find her. And so we would set up situations and make it a game for them. So there's funny little moments. He says the joke. I don't know if anyone catches it, about like Canada being right on top of the United States. And he says, the United States would say ow. And he just came up with that and said that in the moment. The United States would say ow.
Oh, okay.
Canada's right on top. Yeah, so not everyone catches it, but I think it's cute. His own little joke, yeah. But it was difficult, honestly, to work with our own kids, and to be a mom and director on set was a little more than I realized I was getting myself into. So we had a day when Marshall just got tired and he laid down on the ground, and we were outside, and it was sunset, and we were all set up, and we had everything, and he said, come on, we just need a few more shots. We just got to keep going. And he was done. He couldn't be bribed, so we had to.
He runs a lot, so I can see why he'd be done.
Yeah, we did wear him out, so, yeah.
I also just want to comment that the photography was beautiful. So I don't know, is your husband a professional photographer? Because it was like a beautiful movie, scenery and all that, and the lighting and everything between the trees and the sun. And there's so many very great moments of like photography. So wow, this is like, wow, very professionally made. So it's
Thank you. Yeah, I'll tell him you said that. Yes, he is a DP, and he did a good job. We actually picked the look for this film. We picked out some vintage lenses that were cheap on eBay, and we bought them and there's a guy in Georgia, we put in the credits at the very bottom, who like can adapt the lenses, and he retrofit them to be able to put gears on. And so we used some old vintage lenses for this, and it kind of adds to this cool, dirty look to the film.
Like I said, that tactile feel. Like
Yeah.
It definitely gives it that, just
Adds
sort
some
of the
character,
look.
for sure.
Total cost?
This is like a no budget film. I mean, it's
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm just like, that is unbelievable.
It took a long
Been
time.
very resourceful.
We had to be. I mean, so this was just a passion project. We did it in our spare time. The edit took years because we were just trying to pay the bills, and we had 2 more kids, and lots of life happened while we made this.
kids.
I have 5 kids now. Yeah. Marshall, the oldest, is 9. He just turned 9, so he was 5 when we made this. So it took a long time to finally see it through to the end, but now we're actually wrapping up our second feature film, the documentary, and that one we've managed to live off of. We've been able to not live in large or anything, but we're supporting our family with our 5 kids on that. So, yeah.
Can you talk about the casting process for the events?
Honestly, we didn't do a lot of casting except for the side roles. Brando, who plays the lead, Cal, is a friend of mine from film school, and we've worked closely together before. We did short films, before, and I liked working with him. I knew he could do a good job. And then he hadn't worked with the other actress, but he knew of her. We were thinking of casting her in our other film that we were trying to develop. And so we said, let's just try it out. We're making this cheap little feature. Let's bring her on and try it out. And we had her do a little audition, but it wasn't like she had lots of competition. She was willing to do it for cheap. So we actually flew them out because we went to film school in Utah. So we flew them out to Georgia and just shot with her for 2 weeks. And then she had to leave, and I actually cut and dyed my hair and body doubled for her. So almost all the shots where you don't see her face are me. And we also did that just in case the kids didn't respond as well as we hoped they would. If they had a hard time, that I'd be able to step in and kind of play with them, which we didn't end up needing to do. But it was nice once she flew out to do like the running stuff by the train. That's all me. Things like that we weren't able to get while she was in town. So hopefully you didn't notice. It blends in, but
Yeah, well, it worked out perfectly.
yeah. But all the other actors were local to Georgia, and we just used Actors Access, which is breakdown services on the other end, and cast that way. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So.
Yes. First off, holy child actors. I'm sitting here just like contemplating everything I've ever done watching your son. I'm like, wow, is it worth it? They were so good. Is it, and it was sort of what he had already asked about directing them.
Yeah.
Have you made it into a game more so than anything? It was just like, you didn't have like a script or anything. Did they know what was going on, or
They
this is what you were trying to make with it?
they knew that we were making a movie, but for them it's playing pretend, and kids are very good at playing pretend. But I also knew my own kids. So there's the scene where Marshall is crying and he's all wet. He doesn't like getting wet. And so we said, okay, I'm going to dump water on you for this scene. And I know you don't like that, but if you're okay with it, he's really sad and he's all wet. He just got out of the water. So we dumped water on him. It was a little bit cold and it worked, and he was crying, but he was willing to do it. And so that was...
Taking them Chuck E. Cheese after that?
We did do a bit of bribing. We were not the best parents. We were like, we'll get you a treat, whatever you need. Like, just let's do this. So, yeah.
What's the documentary about?
The documentary is about loss. So actually, after we made this, I got pregnant with our fourth, and he passed away shortly after he was born. And we ended up receiving a teddy bear from a man who delivers teddy bears on his motorcycle to people who've lost children. And we're really interested in his story and how he dealt with his own losses through serving others. And so we kind of followed his story, his arc, and other people he's delivered bears to, and made a documentary about that. It's called Ride in Paradise. And that one I am actually really proud of. Not that I'm not proud of this one, but I'm really happy with how it's turned out.
Proud of what you
Thank you.
You mentioned that you shot this several years ago.
Yeah.
But, what is your children's take on the film now? That they've seen it, I guess.
Yeah, they've seen it. I think they're excited for it to come out finally, because we've been doing a little festival run with it this year. They haven't come with us to any of the festivals. We don't really want them to feel like they're celebrities or anything. We actually have had people say, you're going to get calls. People are going to want to hire your kids to do this. And we've decided not to pursue that route and to protect their childhood. And I don't really believe in child actors personally as a director. I just think you find someone who's the right fit, who's comfortable in front of the camera. Honestly, they weren't even very comfortable in front of the camera. I'm glad that it looks like they were, but my son would do like all sorts of weird things with his mouth that we had to kind of cut around in the edit. So after many takes and finagling it, we were able to get it where it looks like they did a really good job, but it wasn't really acting. It was kind of, I don't know.
But when they see it, what's their reaction now?
I think it's just fun. It's almost like a home video, like, oh, I remember that. And when we drive around, because we live in Peachtree City, we drive around and they say, oh, that's where I ate the oatmeal cookie. And the homeless lady was actually our next door neighbor. And she said, that was Amy and I ate the cookie under there. And so it's fun. It's just memories.
Was the baby also one of your kids?
Yeah. So they're all three are kids. And that was actually kind of fun too, because when we have them at the end remembering back on the childhood, we actually just used archival home videos that we had of our kids. Yeah. So that kind of worked out.
It worked out well to intercut that throughout, though.
Yeah.
That's great.
Where did you find the airplane, the steering, the PC-17 or whatever?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's actually a town not too far from Peachtree City that is full of personal planes, and it's really cool. That grass runway is right in the middle of a strip of houses on both sides, and it's just like a normal neighborhood, but everyone has hangars for garages, and they all fly personal planes. And we had a friend, we've done some volunteer work for the Commemorative Air Force Museum in Peachtree City, and so there we met Vic, who is the pilot of the plane, and he was interested in the story. He was a friend of ours, and he agreed to let us use his plane. And so he flew it. He played the pilot as well. And yeah, that was a generous.
It's a beautiful airplane restored. It's a 1941, actually. I checked.
Yeah.
Because of the end number, I checked.
You checked it. Okay.
It's a 1941 airplane.
It is. Yeah.
Beautifully preserved.
Yeah, he does a good job. He takes good care of it. He let me fly it a little bit before putting our son in it. So.
How did Marshall take it being in the plane?
We thought he'd be so excited and just be like, wow, because he loves planes. We thought it'd be so fun. And he got up there and was kind of like, yeah. So it was a little less exciting than we thought. But it was fun. He likes to brag about it now.
It's exciting. Yes.
Yeah, so I was actually, I was curious about that because, especially when you said you view this as like a coming of age for the parents.
Yeah.
I really view this as the sort of story of growing up for the kids,
Mm.
and very much about how you leave home and you have these huge experiences, and then there's not, like, it's hard to then come home and communicate that to parents, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's so much what kids do. If they grow up and then they come home from school and you ask them, what did you learn today? And they say, like, nothing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what did you do? Nothing. Nothing is fine, right? And so that's sort of what struck me, the fact that he flies this plane and he never mentions it to dad. So I guess I was wondering at the end, was that a conversation as we were writing the script, whether or not the kids should talk about what happened to them? Like the fact that they just immediately go to sleep, the day is over, right? Their story is, they're done.
Yeah.
Was that a conversation and a deliberate choice that you decided to bring it back and make it as a couple at the end? Does that sort of make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Trying to remember, honestly, the ending was kind of an accident in many ways. We had a different ending scripted, and not too different, but different enough that when the day came, he was tired. This was another day where he was tired. It was the end of the day. When he was on the ground, we were trying to have this conversation, and he said, I'm just so tired. That was real. And so we said, okay, let's just have him put him to bed, and it'll just be the adults, because our kids, it was our last day of shooting, actually. We shot that last scene, and the kids were just tuckered out. Everyone was. And so we let them go to bed and let the parents have that moment on their own. But yeah,
Well, it worked.
As we say, it worked.
I like your perspective of it, though. It's true, that there's so much that goes on that doesn't always get communicated, or as kids, you don't really have words sometimes to explain or understand what even happened. So
Yeah, so much of it is about the private life of children.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
and children's surprising competence. And,
Very resourceful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, so I believe you had a distributor for this, correct? Do you know where else it'll be?
So we have not signed the papers, but we do have some distribution offers on the table, and one that we feel pretty good about. So we'll probably move forward. So I'm guessing it'll be streaming. It's not going to go theatrical besides the festivals.
Sure.
But streaming on some of the platforms within a couple months, hopefully. So
Exciting to hear. It's really good to know we'll be able to see some more of it.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the documentary you mentioned, can you say the name of it one more time?
Right in Paradise. Yeah, so if you want to follow this or other films that we're making, you can go to our website. It's invisiblemansion.com, Invisible Mansion Pictures, and you can get on our email list, and we send out updates as we go, but it also has the trailer for Right in Paradise, the documentary on there. So.
Well, hopefully we'll see you back here with that for sure next year.
Yeah, we'll have to
That'll be
submit
good.
it. It's been a great time. So.
Does anybody else have any other questions? All right. Well,
Thank you so much for coming and staying after. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful film.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks so much for listening to this Q&A and this 100th episode of Film and Family. If you haven't joined our email list yet, make sure you get on there for more details about this film, when it comes out, other films that we'll be releasing. We are premiering our next film, Ride in Paradise, which you heard mentioned in the Q&A, at Zion's Indie Film Festival on March 1st of 2025. So that's this year. And that will be at the Sarah Theater in Orem. So if you want any more information about that, just Google Zion's Indie Film Festival. And if you're in that area, or if you want to stay up to date on other festival showings for Ride in Paradise, that will be forthcoming in emails. So stay subscribed.
We also just want to mention really quickly that we are currently running or accepting submissions to the Feature Filmmaker Academy Scholarship. We have transitioned into a nonprofit. So the Film and Family Foundation is now a nonprofit, and that is what will be hosting this podcast, as well as the educational resources that we provide. And because of that, we received a donation, and we decided to allow a few selected applicants to receive a scholarship into the program. And this is a lifetime membership. The program helps you be able to make feature films for a living, if that's what you want to do.
And specifically, it's focused on helping you to conceive, fund, and finish your first feature film. So if that's where you're at in your career, then this is the perfect program for you. We really encourage you to submit and become a part of this program that could change the trajectory of your film career.
Submissions are due currently on January 20th. So hopefully we release this podcast before then with enough time for you to get a submission in. If you did not see that email go out, feel free to join our email list at invisiblemansion.com/films. And you can just send a reply to that email that automatically comes through and ask for scholarship information, and I can send that your way.
Awesome. Thanks, and have a great rest of your 2025.
We'll see ya. Bye. Thanks for joining us today. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, you'll love the Feature Filmmaker Academy, a program designed to teach anyone how to finance and finish a feature film.
There are many resources teaching you how to do a great job, but what they don't teach you is how to get the job in the first place.
You cannot have a career making feature films until you've made at least one. Anyone can make a feature film using our proven model.
It's risk-free. If you follow all the steps in the program, you'll finance and finish a feature film, or we'll give you your money back.
Learn more at invisiblemansion.com/feature filmmaker or click the link in the show notes.
If you find this free resource valuable, we'd really appreciate it if you leave us a review or share it with another filmmaker. We'll see you next time. Bye.